In the west, as the Colorado River cut and thrust and forced its way through rock and strata to form the magnificent Grand Canyon. Here, in the east, the European and African tectonic plates pushed and shoved, cajoled and contrived to drive up the equally magnificent Alps. Here, in what was to become Sandgate, similar catastrophic glacier flooding forced and conspired to force a watery wedge between us and the mainland. Then, nothing much happened for a few thousand years. Sandgate denotes a gate or cleft in the sandstone hills through which the Enbrook flows to meet the sea. Evidence suggests that there was human habitation in the area from at least Neolithic time. Romans, Saxons, Danes, Normans, all have landed on our Kentish shore. Defence of the realm was paramount. During the 16th century, the threat from France and Spain led Henry VIII to order the building of Sandgate Castle to defend the coast against the tyranny of the Pope. England's continued need to maintain its naval supremacy during conflicts with France, Spain and Holland necessitated warships. With only a population of just a few hundred, Sandgate still made a significant contribution to this fleet, with some 10 warships built and launched from its shingle beach during the 1780s. There were 3 shipbuilding concerns clustered around Sandgate Castle. One of these, Fabian Clayton Wilson, built cottages for his workers at the foot of Sandgate Hill. During these times, a brisk smuggling trade also boosted the local economy. The fleur-de-lis was a favourite haunt of the smugglers. With the arrival of the military to meet the Napoleonic threat, the small village of Sandgate was transformed. Barracks were built, dwellings, and more public houses erected to provide for the troops. Then John Moore arrived, and under his command, Shorncliffe became a centre of excellence, the birthplace of a radical development in military training. However, soldiers alone would not be enough to repel our foes. The coast was turned into a massive fortress, protected by armed Martello towers and a canal, the Royal Military Canal, which bristled with cannon and musket. Napoleon was thwarted. The threat of invasion passed, but the sleepy 18th century village was stirring and found itself popular and fashionable. Years of peace followed the Napoleonic Wars. Sandgate and the surrounding area enjoyed Victorian prosperity. The writers, artists, philanthropists, military men and eccentrics made Sandgate their temporary or permanent home. Business on the Broadway was brisk. The barracks grew at Shorncliffe, which was to prove fortuitous, as with the outbreak of the First World War, the area became home to many thousands of British, Empire, and Canadian troops on their way to the Western Front.
Come on now! Pick him up! Keep smiling! Smile, smile. While you were losing fertilize your back. Smile, boy, that's the start.
The guns at Ypres could be heard. Increasing numbers of wounded arrived to be nursed in the camp hospital and the convalescent homes. In 1917, death and destruction rained from the skies. Sandgate and Shorncliffe were for some little more than a brief halt en route to some foreign conflict, but from which many failed to return. Shorncliffe Military Cemetery, a microcosm of military life over the last 2 centuries, has practically every regiment in the British Army represented in the gravestones, and reflects the activities of the nearby camp. "1939 dawns, invasion fears are rife, and as France surrenders in June 1940, England stands alone and the Battle of Britain rages overhead. Sandgate becomes a defence area. The castle is mounted with anti-aircraft guns and serves as an air raid shelter and home guard post. Shorncliffe AA batteries are on the alert. The village mainly suffers parachute mine and offshore blast, with some bomb damage to houses, the church, and the school. In 1944, the doodlebugs are droning over. Today, the names of Sandgate's memorial are still clearly legible, but memories of the men behind the names have faded. Each of the 46 names from the Great War was a son, husband or sweetheart who gave his life. Not listed are the many more who came back home damaged in mind or body. To their names have been added a further 17 who died in the Second World War. Peace again returns to the village. Everyday life continues, and with the march of time, change is inevitable. Trading in the high street dwindles. Antique shops replace the butcher and the baker, but Sandgate still has much to offer.
Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay.
As the decades pass, the expanding Saga Group construct an ultra-modern complex in Embrook Park and bring prestige and employment to the area. Despite modern expansion, the constant onslaught of the English Channel and the complex geological strata on which Sandgate stands, it still proudly guards its identity and its sense of history. Old maps and photos show that much of the period character of past times remains intact. Our fragile, eroding coastline is protected from the onslaught of the English Channel by modern coastal engineering and beach management. Sandgate still has great qualities: the wonderful seashore, dense wooded slopes, and leafy walks with sweeping channel views, first-class eateries, and specialist pubs, and recently new and vibrant businesses opening again. Our famous residents are all well documented in our history books and live on through our archive, our statues, our building and street names, and our blue plaque trail. Sandgate, a beautiful place on the beach itself. An enchanting place, where land meets sea.